Unjust enrichment occurs when one party unfairly benefits at another's expense without compensation. But what happens when someone is accused of unjust enrichment? This video explores the key defenses and legal strategies used in unjust enrichment cases. Unjust enrichment is a legal concept that arises when there's no formal contract between parties, but one party has received a benefit from another without paying for it. It's often referred to as an implied contract by law, or a quasi-contract. Courts generally hold that those who benefit from unjust enrichment must pay restitution to the other party. However, there are several defenses that can be used against claims of unjust enrichment. The doctrine of unclean hands is a primary defense. This argues that the plaintiff should not receive an equitable remedy because they acted unethically or in bad faith. For example, if the plaintiff engaged in fraudulent behavior related to the benefit they provided, they may be barred from seeking restitution. Another defense is fraud. This can be particularly relevant in cases like Ponzi schemes, where some victims may have profited, but those profits came from other victims. In such cases, the court may not require the unknowing beneficiaries to pay restitution. Lack of intent can also serve as a defense. If a defendant received a benefit accidentally and was unaware of it, they may not be required to pay restitution. This is especially true if they've already spent the money in good faith. Change of position is another potential defense. If a defendant has already altered their financial situation based on the benefit received, it might be considered unjust to require restitution. For instance, if someone unknowingly receives a mistaken payment and spends it in good faith, courts may not require repayment. The voluntary conferral of benefits can also be a defense. If a plaintiff provided a service or benefit without any expectation of payment, such as in informal family arrangements, their claim of unjust enrichment may fail. Estoppel is yet another defense. This applies when the plaintiff's conduct led the defendant to reasonably believe they were entitled to keep the benefit. For example, if a landlord provides renovations to a tenant's space but had previously assured the tenant it was a gift, they may be barred from claiming restitution later. Proving unjust enrichment can be challenging. Courts typically consider several key questions. Did the defendant receive an enrichment due to the plaintiff's activity? Was this enrichment at the plaintiff's expense? Was the enrichment unjust or unfair? Does the defendant have access to any defenses? And are there specific remedies available for the plaintiff? These cases are often complex and dealt with on a case-by-case basis. One major challenge is the lack of a formal agreement, which means claimants must rely on circumstantial evidence. This can be highly subjective. Another difficulty lies in measuring the value of the benefit, as courts must determine a reasonable value for restitution, which can vary based on jurisdiction. When there's no contract, alternatives like quantum meruit can be used to seek compensation. Quantum meruit, meaning as much as deserved, allows for restitution based on the reasonable value of services or goods provided. This approach is often used in business disputes or construction agreements, where work was done without formal documentation. It's important to note that damages under unjust enrichment are often less than those that would accrue if there's a breach of contract. Restitution damages are typically based on the amount given to the other party, not the amount received from the benefit. In conclusion, defenses to unjust enrichment include the doctrine of unclean hands, fraud, lack of intent, change of position, voluntary conferral of benefits, and estoppel. Proving unjust enrichment requires showing that a defendant was enriched at the plaintiff's expense and that retention of the benefit was unjust. While these cases can be complex, understanding these defenses and legal strategies is crucial for both plaintiffs and defendants in unjust enrichment disputes. Given the complexities involved, seeking legal assistance is often recommended when dealing with unjust enrichment cases.